On my wedding day, my family never showed up. Worried, I called my mom. She laughed. Oh, was that today? A trip sounded more fun. I heard my sister laughing. I said nothing and posted a photo on Facebook, me in my wedding dress with special guests. Hours later, my parents saw it and rushed to the venue, pale-faced. The morning in Greenwich dawned earlier than usual. The soft, April sunlight painted the cherry blossoms in St. Mary's Church garden, a delicate pink. In this historic church, Emma Wilson was about to make the most important vow of her life. Emma, a pediatrician at the City Children's Hospital, was a woman who concealed inner strength behind her gentle smile. Her way of life, prioritizing promises and sincerity above all else, had earned her deep trust from her colleagues. On her days off, nothing brought her more joy than photographing the smiles of hospitalized children. Her annual income of $150,000 was a testament to her capabilities. Her fiancé, David Chen, served as a branch manager at a regional IT company. Coming from Chinese immigrant parents who had worked hard to raise him, he valued family bonds above all else. Despite his impressive $200,000 annual salary, his humble personality had earned him trust from those around him. The couple had met at a hospital charity event. The Wilson family, Emma's parents' household, was so well known in Greenwich's social circles that there wasn't a soul who hadn't heard of them. Her father, Robert Wilson, was the president of the real estate management company Wilson Properties. A businessman boasting annual sales of $20 million, however, lately, he had become more absorbed in golf than management, and had grown obsessed with social media posting. His character, which prioritized appearances and pretense, was well known in the business world. Her mother, Margaret, was known as a pillar of local society as a full-time housewife. However, her interests had gradually shifted to social media, becoming absorbed in her activities as an Instagrammer. With 20,000 followers, her thrice-weekly spa treatments had become an essential routine. Her preoccupation with likes was a source of worry for her daughter Emma. Her sister Ashley, who had secured a position as financial director at their father's company through nepotism, was more enthusiastic about managing her social media accounts than her actual duties. She was more prominent as an influencer with 100,000 followers. Her monthly take-home pay of $10,000 was spent almost entirely on maintaining her appearance. For the Wilson family, Jennifer Anderson had become a special presence. As the owner of the region's largest shopping complex, Anderson Mall, she was Wilson Properties' most important client, with annual transactions worth $10,000,000,000. Possessing $500 million in assets and carrying herself with dignity and grace, she was known as a leader in local charitable activities. She was especially respected at Emma's workplace for her generous donations to the Children's Hospital. Most importantly, she had watched Emma grow up since childhood as a family friend. 50 guests had been invited to the wedding. From the father's side, led by the grandparents known as local dignitaries, there were 5 sets of aunts and uncles, and 8 cousins, a lineup that valued family tradition. From the mother's side, the grandmother, 3 sets of relatively liberal-minded aunts and uncles, and 6 cousins were expected to attend. Additionally, as important local figures, Mr. and Mrs. Jennifer Anderson, 2 fellow doctors from the hospital, 3 sets of business partner executives, 3 families of childhood friends, and the church's pastor and his wife had been invited. This guest list alone reflected the high social standing of the Wilson family. The wedding budget was $100,000. Formal attire was specified for the guests, and everything had been perfectly prepared for this special day. Everyone had been looking forward to this spring day with the cherry blossoms in full bloom. In the bridal room of St. Mary's Church, Emma sat motionless before a large mirror, dressed in a pure white wedding gown. Maria, the professional makeup artist, was carefully applying the final touches. Linda, a longtime friend, was gently adjusting the lace veil while occasionally glancing outside. The spring morning sun illuminated the cherry blossoms blooming in the church garden, creating a scene as beautiful as a painting with petals dancing in the wind. "Still no sign of your mother and the others?" There was a hint of anxiety in Linda's voice. Margaret should have arrived by now. She had promised to come early to take photos for social media posts. Just last night she had sent a message saying, "Let's take wonderful photos first thing in the morning." No contact at all. It's strange. Emma anxiously stared at her smartphone screen. There were no calls or messages from her parents. Even Ashley's Instagram, which was usually updated every 30 minutes, hadn't been updated since the night before. Her stories, typically updated every half hour, remained silent. "Your complexion is getting a bit pale," Maria spoke with concern. Though her hands didn't stop working on the makeup, worry lines appeared between her brows. She could see the bride's skin gradually turning ashen. Sarah, the wedding planner, entered the room with her checklist in hand. "I've completed the final confirmation with the pastor. Now," she began, then noticed the atmosphere in the room. "Where's your family?" No one could answer. The heavy silence that filled the room intensified the ominous feeling. Outside, the voices of arriving guests could be heard. Whispers of "I don't see any of the Wilsons," and "How strange" carried on the wind to the bridal room. Emma's smartphone rang. The screen displayed Mom. All eyes in the room turned to Emma at once. The air in the room seemed to freeze. "Mom, are you almost at the church?" What came through the receiver was an unexpectedly cheerful voice. The sound of waves and lively music could be heard in the background. "Oh, Emma. I'm in Hawaii right now." For a moment she couldn't comprehend the words. It felt like hearing a bad joke. "What? Today is my wedding day? Oh, was that today? I thought a vacation would be more fun." Her sister's mocking laughter could be heard in the background. "Mom, this beach chair is amazing." The sound of waves made that laughter even more cutting. Emma's hands began to shake. The pure white dress trembled slightly. A single tear rolling down her cheek slowly smudged the makeup Maria had so carefully applied. "You're joking, right?" Her voice trembled. Whether from anger or sadness, even she couldn't tell anymore. "Oh, I'm sorry. It's Sophie's spring break, so we thought a family vacation should take priority." More laughter from her sister. "This angle is perfect for Instagram. I'll send you pictures later. It's such a lovely resort hotel. My followers will love it." The call ended. The smartphone slipped from Emma's hand, making a dull thud on the carpet. That sound echoed loudly in her heart. Linda, Maria, Sarah, everyone stood frozen, watching this unbelievable situation unfold. Only time passed mercilessly in the soft morning light. Then, there was a quiet knock at the door, 3 short knocks. It was as if fate itself had come calling. "Excuse me, Emma." Behind the open door stood Jennifer Anderson, carrying herself with dignity. She held an iPad in her hands. There was a determination in her bearing that hadn't been seen before. "Mrs. Anderson, why?" Emma's voice trembled slightly. Not from fear, but from the anticipation of something significant about to begin. "I saw it on social media. Your family's posts." The iPad screen displayed photos of the Wilson family smiling on a Hawaiian beach. In those photos, they were laughing as if they felt no pain at all. 20 years of friendship, I've watched over you." Jennifer's voice mixed quiet anger with deep affection. In her eyes was something that seemed like certainty, born from years of experience. "Today, let me take the place of your family." At those words, tears flowed from Emma's eyes. But they weren't tears of sadness. They were warm tears that flow when touched by true love. "Let's post right now." Jennifer's voice was resolute. It carried a quiet determination for the counterattack that was about to begin. "Post, you mean?" "Yes. On their precious social media. But first, let's take a beautiful photo." Jennifer took Emma's hand. The warmth of that hand was as comforting as if making up for the lost family love. The two walked to the center of the church and stood before the colorful stained glass windows. The morning sun streamed through, enveloping them in rainbow-colored light. That light seemed like a blessing from heaven. "Let's create new bonds between us." At that moment the church bells rang out, as if announcing the start of a new morning. The sound echoed throughout Greenwich, as if declaring that this day would become something special. Emma nodded quietly while wiping away her tears. On this morning, she was beginning to deeply understand what true love and family really meant. Guests began gathering at St. Mary's Church, one after another. The spring sunlight illuminated the church spire, and light passing through the stained glass windows created colorful patterns on the floor. The first to arrive was her paternal grandfather. Deep wrinkles marked his dignified face with its neatly trimmed white beard. As he entered the church with dignified steps, adjusting his morning coat collar, Jennifer Anderson quietly explained the situation. "What has happened?" The grandfather's voice trembled. Whether from anger or sadness, complex emotions could be read in his expression. As someone who had protected the Wilson family's honor for many years, this situation was completely unacceptable. "This cannot be forgiven." Those words carried the dignity of his 80 years of life. His hand gripped his cane tightly, the sound of it striking the old wooden floor echoing. Her maternal aunt arrived next. With a face paler than Emma's own, she was at a loss for words at her sister's actions. She simply held Emma's hand silently and wept. The warmth transmitted through that hand told of the genuine blood ties that existed. How could they do something so terrible? Her voice revealed deep sadness at the betrayal of family bonds. After that, relatives gathered one after another. Each time they learned what had happened, they were struck speechless, then showed deep anger. The hospital colleague doctors forgot their usual composure and were furious. These professionals, who normally maintained their composure even in the face of life and death, couldn't stay silent about this betrayal. The business partner executives wore stern expressions never seen in business negotiations. As longtime business partners, they understood the gravity of the Wilson family's actions. The childhood friends' families simply embraced Emma, in silence. No words were necessary. Their warmth told the whole story. The memories they had shared since childhood bound them together now with even stronger ties. In the church garden, fully bloomed cherry blossoms scattered their petals. The scene was so beautiful it seemed unreal that today's events were actually happening. The wedding ceremony time was approaching. The air in the old church gradually took on a solemn atmosphere. The pastor approached quietly and offered special words of blessing. His presence carried the weight of having performed many weddings in this church for over 40 years. Your wedding today will be pleasing in God's eyes, because it is surrounded by the true love of all people here. Sometimes God gives us trials, but beyond those trials, deeper love awaits. Emma and David stood in the center of the chapel. Light streaming through the stained glass windows gently enveloped them. That light seemed like a blessing from heaven. All the guests watched with strong will. Their gazes were filled with love and determination. The pastor's voice echoed through the church. His voice shook the old church beams and reached deep into the hearts of all attendees. David held Emma's hand strongly yet gently. The feelings conveyed through that hand were more eloquent than words. Emma. His voice carried deep affection. The surrounding air grew even more still. I vow before you now. Though we may not be bound by blood, we will become a new family, and together with all the people gathered here, we will nurture eternal bonds. With everyone who is gathered at this moment today, we will weave a new family story. Shining drops fell from Emma's eyes. But unlike the morning, these were tears of happiness. Those tears created small stains on her wedding dress while shining as proof of new hope. After the ceremony, the guests gathered at the reception venue. There was a strong unity there that transcended blood ties. The expressions of those surrounding the tables now showed not just sadness and anger, but new determination. Her paternal grandfather slowly stood up. The venue fell silent. His figure holding a glass was as dignified as a statue. Today I feel the deepest anger of my life, and simultaneously, the deepest emotion. His voice carried a strength that belied his age. The dignity cultivated through years of business and the weight of being the family head were contained in each word. The parents and sister did not come to my granddaughter's wedding. This can never be forgiven in the name of family. There has never been such a disgrace in the Wilson family's history. A moment of silence. Heavy yet powerful air dominated the venue. However, witnessing the love of everyone gathered here, I am convinced. True family is not just about blood ties. Rather, this kind of mutual care and support is the true proof of family. Jennifer Anderson quietly stood up. Her presence carried the dignity of a successful businesswoman and the maternal affection of a mother. Everyone, I have a proposal. The atmosphere in the venue grew even more tense. All eyes were fixed on her. We are now bound by new ties. Shall we give those ties form? On social media, the place they value most. The maternal aunt stood up, wiping away tears. Her hands were still trembling. Surely there's something we can all do together. Let's transform our anger and sadness toward my sister into love for our new family. One by one, the guests began offering opinions. These were constructive proposals that went beyond anger and sadness. Each word carried strong will and determination. Naturally, a large circle formed. 50 guests joined hands. That circle drew a perfect circle, as if symbolizing the bonds of the new family. Let's combine our strength as a new family. Jennifer's voice echoed through the venue. That voice carried expectations for the new story about to begin. David squeezed Emma's hand tightly. All their feelings were contained in that grip. Everyone who came to our wedding today is our true family. We want to walk our new life together with all of you who chose heart connections over blood ties. All the guests made a vow while holding hands. At that moment, the church bells rang out. It was a pure tone as if blessing the birth of new bonds. That sound echoed throughout Greenwich, as if announcing that this was a special day. Jennifer quietly took out her smartphone. Her expression showed quiet determination for the counterattack about to begin. Emma's post was quietly released into the social media world. A single photo taken in front of the stained glass windows with spring sunlight behind them. Emma in her wedding dress standing close to Jennifer Anderson with her dignified presence. Their expressions showed deep affection and quiet determination. Below the photo, Emma's words began to unfold. I'd like to introduce today's special guest, Mrs. Jennifer Anderson, owner of Anderson Mall. She has been a family friend for 20 years and has always cared for me since I was little. The post was displayed in real time on the reception venue's screen. All guests watched with bated breath. This morning I received a call from my mother saying she would miss the wedding. The entire family canceled on the biggest day of my life because Hawaii would be more fun. Small sighs escaped in the venue. However, they weren't sighs of sadness, but rather seemed like anticipation for what was about to unfold. In the midst of this, Mrs. Anderson rushed to my side saying, "We cannot let your new life begin this way." Mrs. Anderson, who supports me with warmth beyond family. While my father, mother, and sister chose a Hawaii vacation, she is teaching me what true adult behavior means. Within minutes of posting, reactions flooded in. First came responses from the local community, then reactions from the business world began. Further, voices from social circles rose up and spread throughout the social media world. An emergency meeting of all guests was held at the venue. Let's decide how to proceed from here. Jennifer Anderson's voice echoed through the venue. Economic impact is unavoidable. A business partner executive spoke a cool analysis. Wilson Properties' stock price is already falling sharply. The market seems to be questioning Robert Wilson's management capabilities. An uncle who was a lawyer spoke quietly. From a legal standpoint, there are several options. First, damages for breach of wedding contract. Then, the possibility of a shareholder derivative suit regarding damage to the company's reputation. However, Emma shook her head. This isn't about money. All I wanted was my family's love. At those words, the venue fell silent. Her grandfather slowly stood up. His presence carried the weight of the Wilson family's history and tradition. This is the right decision. On the honor and pride of our family. Everyone took a final photo together. The guests formed a large circle around the bride and groom. Their expressions showed no more hesitation. The strong bonds of the new family were clearly captured. At the photographer's signal, the shutter clicked. At that moment, the church bells rang out. With the photo, the final post was made. It was a solemn declaration signed by all 50 names. Today, we, the extended family, declare complete severance of ties with Robert Wilson, Margaret Wilson, and Ashley Wilson, who have trampled on family bonds and broken the most important promise, the Wilson and Chen family relations. The moment the post was completed, the spring sunset illuminated the church's stained glass windows. Rainbow-colored lights spread throughout the venue, as if blessing the birth of the new family. Emma squeezed David's hand tightly. No more tears flowed. Her eyes now held strong determination for her new life. Outside the window, cherry blossom petals danced in the sunset light. It seemed to represent the farewell to old bonds and the beginning of new ones. A quiet evening was falling on Greenwich. However, this news would continue to spread. It would create large ripples in both the social media world and the real world. 1 year later, Greenwich welcomed another spring. The cherry blossoms in St. Mary's Church garden bloomed as beautifully as last year. However, many things had changed in this year. The wedding incident spread throughout the United States through social media and was widely covered by various media outlets. It became a social phenomenon, described as the downfall of a family addicted to social media, and a warning to modern society. The Wilson family's downfall was surprisingly swift. Robert Wilson immediately lost his contract with Anderson Mall. This meant losing $10 million in annual transactions. Subsequently, major business partners also began terminating their contracts. We cannot entrust business to a manager who can't even maintain family bonds. These words became an axiom in the business world. 6 months later, Wilson Properties' stock price recorded its lowest value since the company's founding. Pursued by shareholders for management responsibility, Robert Wilson was forced from his position as president. Now, he only runs a small real estate brokerage business. Meanwhile, Margaret Wilson's fall was even more dramatic. Her wedding day post caused a huge backlash on Instagram. Severely criticized by her followers, her account was frozen within 24 hours. Completely banished from social circles, the relationships she had built over many years collapsed in an instant. No longer able to afford her thrice-weekly spa treatments, she now sighs deeply every time she looks in the mirror. Diagnosed with depression by her doctor, she currently spends her days confined at home. Her sister Ashley also had to completely cease her activities as an influencer. The label of influencer who betrayed family became fatal in social media circles. Her follower count plummeted to just a few hundred within a week. All contracts with sponsor companies were terminated. Having lost her position as financial director at her father's company, she now works part-time at a small cafe. Ironically, she ended up working in the kind of job she once looked down upon. However, this year also showed the deepening of new bonds. Last month, the Emma couple announced their first pregnancy. That post received over 100,000 likes and was flooded with congratulatory comments. Of course, Jennifer Anderson gladly accepted the role of godmother. "I have received the greatest role of my life." Those words contained genuine affection. Emma's hospital career had also become more fulfilling. Her hobby of photographing children's smiles had grown into a popular feature called Today's Smile on the hospital's official social media. Every Sunday, the entire new family gathers for dinner. It had become customary to spend warm time together at Jennifer Anderson's mansion. "We have become a true family, beyond blood ties." Whenever the grandfather speaks these words at dinner, everyone nods deeply. New family photos are taken every month. These are not for social media posts, but purely to preserve memories. The smiles in the photos are all filled with genuine happiness. Recently, 50 people gathered again at St. Mary's Church for the first wedding anniversary mass. The pastor, who had witnessed the changes over this year, offered special words of blessing as a witness. True family is built by hearts that care for and support each other. You have shown us the most beautiful form of this. Emma nodded quietly while touching her belly where new life grew. I want to teach this child what a true family looks like. David gently embraced his wife's shoulders. Around them spread the warm smiles of their new family. The wedding incident is still sometimes talked about on social media. However, it is no longer a story of anger and sadness. True family lies not in blood ties, but in bonds forged by the heart. This lesson quietly but surely resonated in the hearts of many people living in modern society. In the church garden, a new spring breeze lifts the cherry blossom petals. The scene is as beautiful as last year, but its meaning had changed greatly. Now, it seemed to be blessing the bonds of the new family.